I literally woke up in the jail cell and I was like, wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind.
YNW Melly stole people's hearts when he released Murda On My Mind at 16 years old. The song's video garnered over 50 million views on YouTube and a record deal from Future and Young Thug for the promising young rapper. But he didn't get to enjoy the fame for long as he was subtly accused of a double homicide for the death of his friends, Anthony DeAndre Williams, also known as YNW Sakchaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as YNW Juvy. The shocking part about this case, however, is the fact that YNW Melly is childhood friends with YNW Juvy and Sakchaser. So, what could have led to the killings? The rapper is currently standing trial and possibly facing a death penalty if found guilty of the murders. Here's the YNW Melly double homicide breakdown and how he found himself in this debacle. Relationship between YNW Melly and the victims.
We got the heart on this side. All right. What's that say above your eyebrow on that side?
Which side?
Oh, either one. What's it?
No, I got Sakchaser right here. That's my brother. That's my twin.
Okay.
I got Juvy.
Juvy?
Brother.
Just a lot of your friends who passed?
Yeah. Nah, them my niggas right there.
Oh, okay.
My brothers right there.
My bad. I wouldn't get none of my friends tattooed on my face until they died.
Yeah, nah.
I'm not a good friend like you are, apparently.
Nah, this shit for life.
What's cash motivated, like it says in your chain?
YNW Melly was born Jamel DeMons in Gifford, one of the poorest communities in Florida. He was an only child to a single mother and grew up around his grandmother. As a child, Melly met Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as Juvy in his community. They built a close relationship and were more or less each other's best friends, and they moved together as a crew. Of the three of them, Melly was the wildest as he loved guns and even carried one with him to school every day from the time he was in the 4th grade.
I found my first gun when I was 9 years old. Ever since then, like growing up, I was so addicted to the bitch. I love that little bitch. If you up that bitch at a nigga and bust his ass, that's his soul in it. Like, it's death in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? All I gotta do is up this motherfucker in your ass. He disappeared.
As he got older and started gaining interest in doing music, he was able to get cosigns from Future and Young Thug, which made it possible for him to start his own record label, YNW, which stands for Young Nigga World, or Young Nigga Winning. And he indeed was winning, because his singles were racking numbers. He even got a feature from Kanye West. As a kid who grew up in the hood, he put his friends on, and they all became co-owners of the record label. YNW Melly, Sakchaser, and Juvy went everywhere together. From shows to interviews, they were all close until the end.
Yo, see, real niggas do real things, niggas. And all I hang around is real niggas, you feel me? This shit here right here a family, nigga.
A breakdown of the crime. On October 26, 2018, things took a really bad turn for Melly and his friends. After another successful studio recording session, he, Juvy, Sakchaser, and YNW Portland, another member of their crew, stepped into their gray SUV. They were headed home, but soon had to redirect the car to Memorial Hospital Miramar because YNW Sakchaser and YNW Juvy had been shot multiple times. YNW Portland was the one driving the car and rushed into the hospital asking the nurses for help, but it was too late as both rappers were dead on arrival.
And that subject that we see in the video,
That's the gentleman that the person made.
continuing to publish.
Police soon arrived at the hospital and asked Portland some questions. He claimed they had been involved in a drive-by shooting, but he couldn't provide many details because he was trying to protect himself and duck his head throughout the shooting. However, YNW Melly was nowhere to be found. He didn't arrive at the hospital with Portland, and based on a friend's testimony years later after the shooting, YNW Melly had gone home to change his clothes.
And then I asked you if your statement would refresh your recollection. Does your statement refresh your recollection as to whether Melly left again?
I'm not sure if they left. I was grieving.
Okay.
I'm not sure what nobody did. I was grieving.
All right.
After the death of Sakchaser and Juvy, Melly posted on his social media, "They took my brothers from me over jealousy. I know y'all watching over me. They want to see me break down and stop, or in jail or a box." YNW Melly indeed did not back down as he continued to create new music with Kanye and even had 6 records with Young Thug. He also recorded music with Juice WRLD before his death and was so confident that he was going to have a blast in 2019. But on the 13th of February, 2019, the rapper was arrested on suspicion of killing YNW Sakchaser and Juvy. The detectives in charge of the case didn't believe it was a drive-by shooting because the angles from which the bullets hit the rappers into the car were not consistent with those associated with the drive-by.
So this resting angle in this seat, you have the projectile coming in, exiting through the top of the skull, and then continuing through the windshield.
Cortland Henry, also known as YNW Portland, was arrested as a co-conspirator in the crime, but was later released under bond and placed under house arrest while Melly remained in prison. YNW Juvy's father makes a bold claim. In an interview with Law and Crime Network, Christopher Thomas Sr., YNW Juvy's father, said that there was a $500,000 deal between Sakchaser, Juvy, and Melly. They were going to share the money, $200,000 each for Melly and Juvy, and $100,000 for Sakchaser. He believes that Melly killed his friend so he could keep all that money for himself.
I think Melly didn't want to give them guys nothing. He wanted to be the only one to shine. And then they came to town next day and gave the mothers $15,000, the other mother $10,000. So I thought to myself, if Sack was going to get $200,000, Chris was getting $100,000. If we could pay these people $25,000, keep $275,000, that's how I saw it.
The trial. On June 12, 2023, YNW Melly's trial began. He had been in jail since his arrest in 2019, and the judge refused to let him be out on bond, even when he tested positive for COVID. The prosecutor in charge, Christine Bradley, led the argument claiming that YNW Melly killed YNW Sakchaser and YNW Juvy because of his gang affiliation. She further went on to show the court some text messages that Melly had sent after the shooting.
And says, right after this, yo homie, you good? Let me know something. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is where context matters. What does that mean?
According to Bradley, someone had sent Melly a message to check up on him after hearing about the drive-by shooting, and he responded with, "I did that. Shh."
And Mr. Demmons responds very succinctly, "I did that."
But Melly's defense attorney, David Howard, argued that the message had no context and wasn't solid ground on which to base an argument. He also went on to highlight the fact that when the Broward County Sheriff went through the case files, he knew that there were so many errors with the investigation, they were forced to start from scratch.
Seems to have botched this investigation, and they called the Broward Sheriff's Office and asked them to come and look at the investigation upon which this entire prosecution rests. He looks at it, and he says he instantly knew he had to start from scratch.
But David Howard wasn't going to stop claiming that the state of Florida had no case against YNW Melly. He also wanted to shift their attention to YNW Borland, the driver of the car. He claimed that Borland had changed his clothes before dropping Sakchaser and Juvy at the hospital, and they also found some gunpowder residue on his hands.
The defense seems to be pushing the idea that Henry may be the real culprit behind these murders, and not Melly. That was evidence in cross-examination of one of the forensic scientists who the attorney questioned about gunshot residue.
Melly's attorney has already slightly shifted focus from the rapper to Borland, and if it works, Melly could be released on the grounds that there is no evidence to indict him. YNW Melly's reaction in court. As the trial commenced, YNW Melly has been under scrutiny by the jury and fans at home. When he stepped into the courtroom, he covered his face with his palms to say a prayer and blew a kiss into the air afterwards.
Really? Really?
This reaction made the families of Sakchaser and Juvy upset because they assumed he wasn't being serious or respectful about the situation. He was also spotted playing with the pen in court, side-talking with his second attorney, and laughing. While some critics believe he's doing all those things because he's guilty, others believe his lawyers are trying to present him as a pleasant person to be around, so his case will be easier on the eyes. For some music fans, they believe YNW Melly is innocent, and that's why he's unbothered about the court case. Rappers' reactions to the trial. Since the trial started, some rappers like Meek Mill have shown support for YNW Melly. In a tweet, Meek Mill wrote, "They treat us like slaves when they got us all alone. Free Melly. They destroy your whole mentality before you even considered as guilty." This has recently been removed from Twitter. Melly's manager, Jameson 100K Track Francois, has also shown his support for his rapper. In an exclusive interview with DJ Vlad, he said the prosecutors and detectives don't have any substantial evidence that proves YNW Melly is guilty of anything.
Everything that happened from the whole case, because they're going to trial and they're doing depositions and they gotta put these things now physically out. So all they doing is saying, hey, this is the evidence we found. It was 66 pages, but it's not new evidence. It's the same thing, forensics, phone towers, y'all know the rest.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
But while the Free Melly hashtag is trending, Snoop Dogg hadn't shown support for the young star. In a now deleted tweet, he wrote, "That Melly boy cold. Youngin's doing questionable stuff in the industry now. Is he guilty though?" So, here's a final recap of everything that has happened so far in the YNW Melly trial. 1. The Florida vs. YNW Melly trial started on the 12th of June 2023, after he was accused of the double homicide of Christopher Thomas Jr., also known as YNW Juvy, and DeAndre Williams, also known as YNW Sakchaser. The rappers were killed on October 28, 2019 after leaving a recording studio with YNW Melly and YNW Portland. They all got into a gray SUV around 3:19 a.m., with YNW Portland in the driver's seat. At 4:39 a.m., YNW Portland rushed into the waiting room at Memorial Hospital Miramar calling for help, saying he had 2 people bleeding in the back of the car. When the nurses went to the car, YNW Sakchaser and Juvy were already dead. 2. YNW Portland alleged it was a drive-by shooting, but detectives found that the angle at which the bullets entered the car from the drive-by weren't the same that hit the victims. YNW Melly was arrested under suspicion of killing Sakchaser and Juvy, and YNW Portland was arrested as his co-conspirator. Due to Portland's low criminal history, he was released under bond and placed under house arrest, while Melly remained in jail. 3. Christopher Thomas Sr., YNW Juvy's father, claimed that YNW Melly killed his son because they had a dispute over money. They got a deal worth $500,000, and he believed that YNW Melly wanted to keep everything for himself. 4. As the trial commenced on June 12, 2023, the prosecutor in charge of the case, Christine Bradley, argued that YNW Melly killed Sakchaser and Juvy because of his gang affiliations. But David Howard, the rapper's defense attorney, claimed that the rapper wasn't part of a gang, even if he occasionally threw gang signs. 5. David Howard attempted to shift the attention to YNW Portland, citing that he changed his clothes after the alleged drive-by shooting before dropping Sakchaser and Juvy off at the hospital. He also claimed that Portland lied through his testimony and could not be trusted. 6. The prosecution called the mother of Melly's ex-girlfriend to testify. The woman expressed discomfort, but emphasized her commitment to telling the truth. She mentioned feeling bullied and threatened by law enforcement after the murders of YNW Juvy and YNW Sakchaser. She also stated feeling threatened while on the stand. Despite not wanting to testify for the state, she smiled at Melly when she saw him in the courtroom. 7. Forensic experts also found gunpowder residue on YNW Portland's hand from the day of the incident. 8. The trial saw closing arguments and the case was handed over to the Broward jury, who spent 3 days deliberating the outcome. During their deliberations, the jury asked to review some evidence, but ultimately failed to come to a decision, leading to the declaration of a mistrial. YNW Melly's manager, 100K Track, sees the jury's decision as a second chance, expressing hope for a better defense and a new life. Despite it not being the desired verdict, he believes it brings the possibility of Melly coming home. On the other hand, Melly's lawyer, Stuart Adelstein, expressed some disappointment that Melly wasn't released from jail with the legal team, but didn't elaborate on their plans for securing his release on bond or their next steps in the case. I guess we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, as the status hearing was set for July 28th.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record once again reflect the presence of the defendant. This counsel, this is state attorney, and the ladies and gentlemen, jury. Ladies and gentlemen, receive a juror inquiry form. It indicates that after further discussions, reviewing the evidence, and speaking freely amongst the jurors, we are still unable to reach a unanimous decision. So at this time, what I'm going to do is just declare mistrial as mistrial.
YNW has had so many issues with the law in the past that it's hard for the prosecution to look past all that and consider the possibilities of him being innocent. But with new evidence showing that Sakchaser and Juvy weren't killed in a drive-by shooting, it makes the situation harder for both the rapper's attorney and the judge. But diehard fans of the rapper continue to show their support online and hope that he can be proven innocent and released. If he's found guilty, he'll face the death penalty, and that may cause an uproar in the hip-hop community. For more information on this and more in hip-hop and rap, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Till next time, stay blessed, y'all.